So I'm smoking some meat today because it's Father's Day this weekend, and naturally that got me thinking, because there's a big shift in the men's hemisphere out there where a lot of men are choosing not to get married and start families. I'm one of those men. I've talked about that on this channel before, and there's a lot of reasons why I am choosing not to get married and have kids, because throughout pretty much all of my life growing up until about, my late 20s and early 30s, I had pretty much assumed I was going to get married and start a family. That's just kind of the natural thing to do. And, we pass on our genes, and then we leave something behind, because we're all here for a very finite amount of time, and it's good to leave your legacy behind, because you can pass on your knowledge, you can pass on your genes, you can pass on everything that's good about you to the next generation, and they can do the same. So essentially you're leaving something bigger than yourself behind, because that allows you to continue your bloodline, number one, and number two, you could have an impact on the world, because if you pass on your genes and your kids go on to do something great, maybe they be, your kids or your grandkids or whoever becomes president or something one day. That's the kind of stuff that you think about when you have kids, because really it's just about creating. It's about creating something bigger than yourself and actually having purpose, having meaning in life. So that begs the question, and brings me to the main point of this video, is that does not having kids mean that you don't have purpose? Does it mean that you don't have meaning in life? So, let's break that down. And this is something I've thought about a lot, because I've thought about the fact that I'm not continuing my bloodline, I'm not passing on my genes, I'm not leaving something behind, I'm not creating or leaving behind a legacy. But is that really true? Is it still possible to still leave behind a legacy and create something bigger than yourself without actually having kids? And these are the conclusions I've come to. I would say that yes, it is. And I'm just going to preface all this by saying that I think having kids is an amazing thing. If that's something you choose to do, it's awesome. I wouldn't be sitting here today if my parents had chosen not to have kids. And none of us would be here today if our parents had chosen that. So it's really a big decision if you're choosing to or to not have kids, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. But I commend anybody who wants to take that on. And if things weren't set up the way they are in society today, I would probably be having kids, because it is a very impactful and meaningful thing. But the reason I say that I think it's still possible to create a legacy for yourself and to pass something on that's bigger than yourself without having kids is because if you don't have kids, then you're going to have a lot more free time on your hands. And there's a pretty good chance you're going to have a lot more money too, because kids are a financial burden. That's just the way things are, especially in today's society, because everything's getting very expensive. So raising kids and having a family in general is going to be very, very expensive. So if you don't have kids, you have all that extra money and you have all that extra time. So what do you do with that time? So what I've chosen to do with it is I've created a business, and that business mostly revolves around helping people. All right, I've been doing this now for over a year. I've been helping people in the health and wellness space. I've also created different branches off that business that are still health and wellness related and that create an impact in the world. It's all stuff that's geared around food and nutrition and creating a better version of ourselves. And the reason I left the workforce at the age of 39 is because I wanted to pursue these things. This is something that was eating at me every single day when I was working. I knew that by staying in a job, I was foregoing these dreams and this ambition I had. So I got out so that I can pursue these things, so that I can help people, because that's the season I'm in my life right now. But by me doing that, the amount of fulfillment I get from it, just from seeing the impacts that it's had on people's lives, there are people all around the world that I've helped. And when I say helped, I mean help people overcome chronic illness. And that's the big one, is mostly chronic illness, and achieve a better body composition and a better physical and mental state. And all these things that really can have a very profound impact on someone's life. I've had people in states, people I haven't even met, states that are all the way across the country that have invited me to their weddings. I've got people on the other side of the world that I've helped, and it's had such profound impacts on their lives that they're living a completely different lifestyle than what they were living before, a much healthier lifestyle, and they're so much happier and they feel so much better. And all these things, I feel like, to me, is something that's bigger than myself. I am creating an impact in the world. I'm making a dent in the world, and it might be a very, very small dent, which, even though I am helping people all over the place, it's still on a very, very small scale. But it's still something that's bigger than me. It's something I can be proud of, and it is something I can leave behind, because when I'm gone, hopefully these people I'm helping, they're going to pass this knowledge on to their kids, and their kids are going to benefit from that. So I think, to sum this up, I think just by passing on your knowledge and passing on your wisdom and the things that you've learned based on your life experience is something that is able to create a legacy. And when you have all this extra free time and all this extra money that enables you to do these things, to pursue your dreams, no matter what your dreams are, then you're able to do that. And I would say that if you have all that free time, you would probably actually be able to reach people on an even grander scale. So the potential of you creating an impact around the world that is going to be much larger than maybe just a child, I would say is possible. And I'm kind of realizing that for myself. Now, of course, a lot of this is speculation, because maybe if I had kids, I would still be able to do the things I'm doing. But at the same time, I don't think I would, because number one, I probably wouldn't have been able to walk away from the workforce using the money I saved, because if I had a family, there's a pretty good chance I wouldn't be able to save that much money. And I would need to stay working so that I had a secure household, so that finances weren't a concern. Because the reason I'm in the position I'm in is largely because I've been single most of my life. And again, you have to consider the time, because if I was working and I had a family, that's a lot less time. And there's a pretty good chance that I would be a little bit more drained and wouldn't have the energy or the time to do these things. So when you have that freedom, it's almost like the sky's the limit. And that's another thing I've kind of realized, is that at this point, I'm my own limiting factor. I don't have anything else to worry about or consider. So I can basically come and go as I please, and I can do with my life whatever I want. So no matter what my dreams are, I can pursue them. I have the means to do that. There is really nothing holding me back. So those are the biggest realizations I've come to, and that's just kind of how I feel about it. I do feel like it is possible to still create a lasting legacy that's going to live beyond you, even if you don't have kids. And it might not be as profound, because you're not passing on your bloodline and your genes. And, in a sense, your bloodline kind of ends if you don't have kids and you don't have siblings, but it's still a legacy. And if you're passing on knowledge and wisdom based on your life experience, you're still leaving a piece of you behind. But another thing I've thought about and that I've really considered is the fact that, does any of this even matter? And I don't want to make this bleak or anything, but the fact of the matter is that when I'm gone, and when you're gone, and when we're all gone, who's going to really think about us? Because I can tell you that I remember my great-grandparents, because they were still around when I was a young child, but my great-great-grandparents, I never met. I've seen one picture of them. There's one existing picture of my great-great-grandparents, and that's it. And if I had kids, they probably would have no idea who those people are. So that's the thing I think about, is that, in a couple generations, we're all going to be forgotten. It doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter what kind of an impact you made on the world, unless it was very, very significant and it was written in history books and there's a reason for people to remember you, you're not going to be remembered. So does it even matter? Does leaving this legacy behind, whether it be a bloodline or the things you do in life, does it really matter? I would say that it only matters if the thing that you're leaving behind is going to leave a lasting positive imprint, a positive change on the world. That's when it would matter, because in that way, you're actually changing the world, and not just changing the world, but you're changing it for the better. So that's something that it would matter, because you're bettering the world, not just living in it, existing, passing on your genes, and then ceasing to exist. And I know you can't really forecast this, and you can't say for sure that your kids won't go on to do something like that, because that is very possible. But what if the knowledge and the information that you're passing on impacts the people that you're passing it on to enough for them to actually go out and create positive change in the world as well. So as you can see, this is kind of a rippling effect. It doesn't just begin and end with having children. It seems to me like there are numerous ways for a legacy to be impactful and for you to leave meaningful change behind, whether you have kids or not. But I think the important distinction here and the main takeaway from this is that we do all kind of need something to work towards. We need to have something to create and something to leave behind. We need to have some sort of legacy that is going to live beyond us. Otherwise, what's the point? Because like I said before, if we just exist in this world and we don't leave any kind of lasting change behind, or we don't leave any kind of positive impact on the world, then we're just going to exist and we're going to be forgotten. And then at that point, what's the point in life? What is our actual purpose of being here? And if you think about the problem people are having these days with not being able to find a purpose and not finding meaning in life and just kind of floating around aimlessly, not knowing which direction to go, I think a lot of that is because people are choosing not to have children, but they're also staying stuck in a job that they probably don't necessarily enjoy, living someone else's dream, or building and supporting someone else's dream, should I say, and they never get to realize their own. So at that point, they're kind of lost. They have no real sense of direction. They're not creating, which I think we as humans were made to create. I think that's the reason we're here. And if you don't have that, you don't have that thing that you're actively working towards, you don't have anything that you're going to leave behind, everything becomes kind of pointless. And that's probably a big reason why we have a mental health crisis in this country, is because people are stuck in that situation. They're not having kids, and they're also not replacing that legacy, that void that is now there, with anything else. And I could see how that would be a very easy way to just not really have anything to live for, to just not have a direction, and to just float around wondering why we're here. And that's kind of a bad situation that we shouldn't get ourselves in. So for me, the conclusions I've come to is that there's no right or wrong way to live your life. You don't necessarily have to have kids, and I don't think you should be looked down upon for not doing that, for choosing not to do that, because I do think that there are other ways to create a lasting impact on the world that doesn't involve children. And at the end of the day, we all have to blaze our own trail and live a life that's true to us. You know, there are some people out there that simply can't have kids. They were dealt a bad hand, and maybe they're infertile, or they just couldn't find a partner in life. And that's not something that should be looked down upon. It's not something they should feel ashamed about, because there are a lot of people out there that can have kids. We're blessed with this possibility and this opportunity to be able to do that, and we're choosing not to. So again, it's not something that should be taken lightly, but it's also something that shouldn't be frowned upon. Because as long as we're working towards something and we're creating positivity in the world, and we're trying to do something to leave something positive behind, that's an important thing, and that should be celebrated. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer when it comes to this. And I also don't think that not having children makes you any lesser of a man or any lesser of a person in general. But that's just what I think. Let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments below. And if you've chosen to not have kids, share your experience with that. What are you doing instead? Are you creating something that you can leave behind? Or are you just floating through life, going wherever the wind takes you? For all the dads out there, y'all are amazing. None of us would be here without dads. So I appreciate y'all, and I'm sure your kids appreciate you as well.